Hi, I'm Kate Austin. I'm here with Mark McCarthy from Sparky Media Productions.
Good morning, Kate.
What are we doing today, Mark?
Well, Kate, I've been sent this new camera by Red Shark News Review. It's the Sony HXR-NX30E. And rather than the usual camera test, I thought it'd be quite nice to take it out on location. So what I'm going to do, Kate, today is set you a challenge. We're going to have 3 hours to record maybe a 3 or 4 minute VT based here in Leigh-on-Sea. It's a cold morning. It's the first time we've used it. So let's see how we get on today, shall we?
I look forward to it.
Hand in hand on the warm sand, we are walking barefoot and free.
Old Leigh is a fishing village in Essex, England, situated approximately 40 kilometres east of London along the River Thames. It's a picturesque seaside town filled with craft shops, cockle sheds and beautiful boats. And it was first recorded in the Domesday Book as Legra in 1086. And we're going to find out a little bit more about Leigh-on-Sea today.
We're so happy at this lovely place. No sorries, no worries. Let it always be a sunny day.
Two of the Old Town's pubs, the Peterboat and Ye Old Smack, owe their names to the type of local fishing boats used here at the time.
Let it always be a sunny day.
However, by the 18th century, ships had become larger and trade changed. Leigh's deep water channel silted up and the town diminished in importance.
Smiling face are making every moment miraculous. I believe
People have always travelled from miles around to sample Old Leigh's famous catch from the sea. Whitebait, shellfish, and locally each day the foods are sourced and brought here to these counters and people can pick what they like, fresh from the sea. And standing out here you can really smell the fresh sea smell that people from Southend, Leigh-on-Sea and the surrounding areas can really relate to.
let it always be a sunny day. Just for you and me.
As you're watching me now in these beautiful surroundings, we're watching the stabilisation feature on the camera. So Dan is walking backwards and you can see that it's extremely smooth. It can be used in any circumstance. The completion of the London, Tilbury and Southend Railway in 1854 made for greater trade with London and the rest of the world. This made Leigh a very popular commuter town with London workers, which it still is today. Leigh is a very picturesque and beautiful scenic place, but it's a hub of thriving activity. So all around me you can hear the whirring and the humming of JCBs and tractors trying to bring in the local trade into the centre of the community.
Let it always be a sunny day. Just for you and me.
So Mark, you're used to working with large professional cameras on a daily basis. How have you found using the Sony today?
Oh, small. That's the first word that comes to mind. Coming from the background I do, you have to be willing to sacrifice a lot of controls you normally have, shutter speed, ND filters. You can go into the menus on this camera and change things manually, but 90% of the time the camera had things right, like exposure, etc. So it was good to work with. I haven't had it for too long. Obviously, the more you work with the camera, the better images you get, but certainly it's got a Carl's Eye 17 range lens on the front, which look quite nice. We'll see how nice that looks in edit, but it's quite a functional camera and a lot packed in there, really, I think, for the price.
Would you say it was easy to use?
Yeah, I think anyone who hadn't really used the camera could pick this up, press the green button as such and do it on auto, and they wouldn't have any problems at all. Sometimes coming from a more experienced background, you get a bit more frustrated because you want to do things with it maybe that it can't do. But again, you have to consider how much this camera costs and what it can offer.
So you think you might be able to use it in your working day?
Yeah, it'd never be an 8-cam for me. Maybe for web production it could be the main camera, but you might use it to do locked off profile shots and interviews, locked off maybe shots from cars, etc. It's got a good stabilization feature, and it's also got a projector as well. You can project what you've shot on this at home from the camera to review stuff and share it with clients. So it's a fun camera to use, and certainly at this size, Kate, you can pop it in your bag and take it wherever you go. But I'd just like to thank you today, Kate, for your time and helping today. Also, like to thank Dan Keeble, who's behind my Sony F3 at the moment, shooting these little links. And we shot everything that you've seen today in 3 hours. We've been rushing around doing it, and we've done the best we can. But sometimes, Kate, that's the best way to review a camera.
Thank you very much for taking the time to watch today. Thank you. The completion of the London, Tilbury and Southend Railway in 1854 made for greater trade with London and the rest of the world. This made Leigh a very popular commuter town with London workers, which it still is today.
Well, as you can see, I'm back inside the edit suite now, and I've imported the footage into Sony Vegas 12, this version. I've been using Sony Vegas since about version 6. I used it for the last 10 years. Fantastic piece of editing software. If you haven't used it before, it's well worth looking. It seems to handle any scene, any format from any camera I throw in there. But back to the camera footage today. You never quite know when you're getting out in the field. I didn't have an external monitor. I was just using the camera LCD screen. I wasn't that used to the camera, but looking at the footage here I've got today, I'm really rather impressed. The skin tones look good, the dynamic range looks pretty good. One of my gripes these days is when you see local news coverage, here in the UK at least, and some of the footage just looks terrible. And the camera, I think that the images this camera has produced today look way better. I mean, when you consider how small this camera is and the price of this camera, I'm really, really impressed with it. It's got some great pictures, and I'd certainly put this camera in my bag on a shoot. I mean, not saying you could use it as an A camera, but certainly looking at the footage today, this stuff could be broadcast. And it's a fantastic little package, and it's certainly well worth maybe having a try and having a look and see how you get on. Well, that's the end of my feature here for Red Shark News. Whatever area in production you might be involved in, filmmaking, documentaries, ENG work, it's well worth visiting Red Shark News. There's some great content on there and some very, very interesting articles.
Where you can hear the whirring and the humming of JCBs and tractors trying to bring in the local trade into the centre of the